New signs the Republican field for president might be a little more crowded than first thought in 2024. The Hill first reporting that some Senate Republicans view South Carolina Senator Tim Scott as a potential candidate. Senator Scott has made waves before, including last year for saying America is not a racist country during his GOP rebuttal to President Biden's joint session to Congress. Scott has also been heavily involved in the push for criminal justice reform. Our Niall Stanage, White House columnist for The Hill, is with us right now. So no formal endorsements, but you've got Mitch McConnell, John Cornyn. They say they'd be interested in seeing Senator Scott run. Lindsey Graham saying Scott would bring a lot to the table starting on day one, and he looked forward to what Scott could do. So why are some in the GOP so excited?
I think there are several reasons why they see him as potentially a very strong candidate, Adrienne. One is that he's very likable. Even political opponents don't really have any personal beef with Tim Scott. He's a very affable character. He has a very compelling personal story as well. He was raised by a single mother in difficult circumstances, turned his life around in high school, and has obviously enjoyed a lot of success since. And then thirdly, I think people see him as a unifying candidate for the Republican Party, first of all, and potentially on a national scale. Someone with the ability to reach out to those moderate voters who can decide national elections.
Does he have the kind of name recognition among Republican voters, or does he even need name recognition, seeing that him running would get so much attention?
If he got into the race, he would be guaranteed quite a lot of attention, and that would obviously overcome any deficit in name recognition right now. Having said that, I mean, your point is well made. He doesn't have the national profile of, say, a Ron DeSantis or a Ted Cruz, never mind former President Trump. So he would need to get himself better known, but that probably would not be a difficulty if he got into the race.
When will we likely see if he's in, or if anybody else is in on the GOP side, and do you expect a crowded field?
So we're looking at finding some news out about that pretty soon. There have been a couple of potential candidates, Nikki Haley and former Vice President Mike Pence, who have said they will consider whether to get into the race in discussions with their families over the holidays. I think we will see people in the next few months have to decide. On the one hand, it's still very early. You can wait a while, but whether you're Tim Scott or anyone else, you don't want the race to start without you, and you then having to race to catch up.
All right, let's talk about the Democratic field quickly. On Thursday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and outgoing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi both said President Biden should run again. Does he have any challengers?
He doesn't right now. I think his poll ratings would need to fall further for him to get a challenger. That's not to say that Democrats are in love with him as their nominee. There's quite a lot of discontent about that. But challenging an incumbent president from within his own party is very difficult, and challengers tend to get flattened when they try that.
All right, Niall Stanage, have a great weekend.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.